Hey, so it's another episode of Let's Chat Sales. And in this episode, we're talking about failure and how to think about failure and why it's not as bad as you probably think it is. So let's dive in. And if you like, then like and subscribe and all that. Thanks. Okay, Bob, another episode of Let's Chat Sales.
Let's chat sales.
Very good. I'm inured to that now. So let's talk about failure.
Ooh,
Yeah, I know. So I think we're kind of on the same page on this, and that is, it's not even a word that I choose to recognize because I think there really isn't failure. In a sense, it's not failure. It's figuring stuff out. It's experience, right?
correct.
What do you say?
I would say you develop your knowledge, experience, and perspective from the experiences you have.
Yep.
If you're willing to look back and say, "Hey, what did I learn from this?"
So
If you're not willing to do that, if you're just like, "Well, I messed that up," then to me that's failure.
yeah,
The way to avoid failure is to take the lessons that are available from everything we do.
yeah. And in fact, the idea of a lesson, and I think there's a school of thought around this, that you learn from your mistakes much more than you do from your successes. That's certainly the case with me. I
Mhm.
find that I'm almost better off creating something and then having it be flawed and then get feedback and then iterate and make it better.
You don't mean having it flawed. You mean acknowledging from the start that it's not
Yeah.
completely finished.
My philosophy is the perfect is the enemy of the good. And that is, get something out there, make
The
something,
minimum viable product,
the
MVP,
minimum viable
right?
product, the minimum viable answer. Get going is much more important than thinking about getting going.
Right, because
Right.
you'll figure it out as you go.
Yeah, and you learn from things along the way, and you invariably learn the things you learn are from the mistakes that you make or the
Yeah.
the suboptimal performances
Or the
oftentimes.
miscalculations you made.
Yeah, whatever those happen to be. And I find that in some of my sales situations, like one of the things I've figured out is it's mistakes I've made, or what I would call not failures, but unsuccessful sales efforts, is where I've learned a lot of stuff. That's where I tend to learn things. For example, there have been deals in the past where I've relied on an internal person to my customer, someone
Mhm.
inside the company, to do the selling for me. And that has become, I mean, that's just a bad thing to do. And until you do it a couple times and rely on someone inside the company to sell on your behalf, or to have collateral sell on your behalf, or wait and hope, those are behaviors that will cause you to, those are unsuccessful behaviors. And you almost need to do them in order to learn that they don't work. And so the value of knowing, hey, it may be painful to reach out again or to do something or to insist that, hey, I need to be on this call. You can't do it alone. I need to be there. I need to talk to so-and-so, because quite candidly, you can't represent the functions that this product has or its capabilities, or field the kind of questions or make the sorts of decisions relative to our solution that need to be made. And we want to make them in that moment. And so I need to be in that meeting. And
Right.
that's a tough conversation to have sometimes. But if you haven't made the mistake of relying on someone else to do it for you and then suffered the outcome, the negative outcome, you probably aren't going to learn that. And if you're in sales for any length of time, you're going to experience that. And hopefully you learn from it.
Well, and that's the key. The other thing is, I think for a lot of founders, they are reluctant to take their idea out of their head and put it in the real world, because in their head it works perfectly.
Yeah.
When they
Right.
put it in the real world, now it's subject to scrutiny.
Right.
And
Right.
so they are the perceived, well, what if it fails? What if I've spent 2,000 hours on this thing and it's not going anywhere? I've coached some people through that situation. It's like, put it out there, you'll hear feedback and you can shift it. There's a core idea that is going to move forward probably.
Yeah. And so it's learning about those things that aren't working, that help you figure out what needs to happen, what you need to create to make something that is working. And so that is almost inviting failure, inviting negative feedback.
I like inviting failure. I think that's a really healthy way to build something.
One of the questions I like to ask is, what don't you like about this? Or why won't this work? I'm ferreting out the possibility of failure, the possibility of a negative outcome, because it's going to happen one way or another. You might as well find it proactively. And then what you'll oftentimes find is you'll get the person, your customer, your prospect will come back around and kind of help you figure out how to not have that failure. They'll actually come to your aid, if you will, I find. So I think you kind of have to embrace it, the failure, right?
Yeah. Look at Elon Musk.
Yeah.
10 times his rocket didn't land on the barge. And it was public every time. And then on the 11th time, it landed.
And he knew it. They knew that it was going to go bad. They knew that they were going to launch rockets. That's why you don't put astronauts in the first ones, right? They know that they're going to explode. They
millions of dollars. They're very public, and still he failed to get success.
They're launching it knowing that there are things about the launch that they don't know that are going to go awry. And it's only by doing it that you're going to be able to figure it out. And so the doing is going to create its own set of failures. And over time, this is the 10,000 hours idea that you do something 10,000 hours. Eventually you streamline it, you perfect it, so to speak. In my experience, like I've done this for so long because of my advanced years that you just,
that must be why you're the entrepreneur in residence.
I've done it for so many years that you've seen everything. You recognize the patterns. You know where the Wayne Gretzky example, you know where the puck is going. You can kind of already anticipate. You've seen it enough times, and then you can't do that without a fair amount of failure in the process. It's part of the equation. So anyway, do we beat that up?
Well, I was going to say that 10,000 hours sounds like very daunting. That's 5 years of 40 hours a week.
Right.
Just so you can equate. So if you've been dealing with your product or service for 3 months, you're not anywhere close to 10,000 hours. You may think you are, but it does take a while.
Yeah. But at the same time, the 10,000 hours thing is, people have challenged that sort of thing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Regardless, you need touches. You got to get a lot of time playing or selling or doing right. And so if you're an early stage company and you're not talking to customers, you're not getting any better. You're not getting the sort of feedback. So you really do need to have those conversations with customers very early on. And I know a lot of tech founders, in particular, startup entrepreneurs, they hesitate because they want to build because that's their comfort zone. And if they go out and start selling, they're inviting failure, criticism, negative outcomes. But those are all the things that you really kind of have to embrace, because once you start to do that, you're going to accelerate your momentum toward that outcome that you want to get, which is a product, a customer that's successful, that's happy, that works well, that sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we've kicked this really well.
Yeah.
I feel like I've got to go out and learn from my failures more now.
All right. Very good. Well, this is good. Well, that's another episode. So we're done.
Okay.
We'll talk to you again soon. We
Sounds
should do
good.
another one.
We'll be back.
All right. See you, Bob.
See ya.
Okay, so that's another episode of Let's Chat Sales, and I hope that was a success and not a failure, although I'm certain there were flaws in there somewhere. If you enjoyed it, click the doobly-doo down here, and there's this episode up here, which I understand is really compelling. So thanks for listening and watching and all that stuff.